And this is the start list for the women's T53 T54 marathon. Madison Di Rosario looking to complete that back-to-back success at Commonwealth Games. What an athlete she is. She's been to 4 Paralympic Games, the 29-year-old, and here she is. And as Dave mentioned, only a small field. We also have Christy Dawes from Australia competing. Eden Rainbow Cooper from England being introduced, a personal best of 2 hours, 8 minutes, 4 seconds expected not to medal here. Here's Christy Dawes, the 42-year-old from Newcastle. This is her 3rd Commonwealth Games appearance.
7-time Paralympian, a great career. And Shelley Oxley-Woods is the danger to the 2 Australians. Di Rosario is the favourite, the defending champion, the Paralympic champion. There she is. I'll tell you a little bit more about her chair because there's been some dramas. But she'll be watchful of Dawes and Oxley-Woods. Rainbow Cooper is probably on times not going to challenge, and because there's only 4, there's only 2 medals, so that makes it a little bit spicy.
Interesting to see how she goes about it, Maddie, because on the Gold Coast, even though she had a few more athletes to beat, she dictated from the front, she controlled things. And this field of 4 in the women's T53 T54 marathon on their way. And it's going to be the 2 Australians who are going to push out first.
Course is pretty challenging here, and we'll see a map of the course as it winds its way through the suburbs of Birmingham and through the West Midlands. In fact, here we go. So it starts 42.195, of course, the traditional marathon distance, but there's a loop section where they do 2 18-kilometre laps. Now, it's the same course for the able bodies, which come later this morning. So this 2 18-kilometre lap section, there's some really long parts, and through Bourneville there, that's the Cadbury factory. We'll tell you more about this as we see some of the sites. It'll be a good opportunity to see some of the suburbs in and around. This long stretch is really quite difficult, and from a mind perspective, when they come back the final time, Curtis, can really start to play on your mind because it just goes on forever. But this bit, for me, for both the wheelies and the able bods, when it twists and turns, is going to be a real opportunity for someone to get away in the final few kilometres. The course here is really quite bumpy, which is making life tough. And I can tell you that Maddie has had some problems with her chair. Talking to her coach, Louise Savage, last night, there was a problem with the bolt and the joint that's responsible for stabilising the chair and the steering at the front, and they couldn't get it fixed, and they actually had to get someone from the chair company, and they've bolted an additional piece of metal. I think you can probably just see
just on the top.
Yeah, just on the top. So they actually had to bolt an additional piece of metal to keep it in place, and I wouldn't have thought those little bumps and on the course so far as making Maddie all that comfortable, to be honest, given that situation.
Yeah, a bit of confidence lost there, but 5 minutes in there, going pretty well and keeping it together. And the varying different disability classes very sort of close in this particular event. You've got the T54 and T53. All, apart from Maddie Di Rosario, are T54s, and the T54 is a strong use of their hands and arms and limited or strong use of their trunk, and then the 53 is the full use of hands and arms but have limited or no trunk function. So
I'm interested in Maddie Di Rosario and her standing on the world stage. From your perspective as an athlete in the village, mixing with other international athletes, where does Maddie sit in the grand scheme of things of athletes in parasport?
Yeah, she's a legend of the sport, and she's done so much for disability inclusion and trying to break away from the assumptions that we are defined by what our ability is by a person observing us, rather than letting us have the chance of having a go before we get judged. And I think especially Maddie, being a female, trying to get the girls out there to get involved with sport, because there's such a great drop-off with females in sport, regardless if you've got a disability or not. And she's just a champion, and she's the Paralympian of the year for the Australian Paralympics and Paralympics Australia, I should say, and making that stand, and she's such an advocate for disability inclusion and trying to get people with disability in the workplace and changing the way in which we view disability. It's an icebreaker in the Antarctic. So yeah, she's a great lady.
So we talk about all of those Paralympic and Commonwealth Games moments for her, but she's won the Ausday 10K wheelchair race 8 times, New York Marathon winner. There's just so many stats, and there's certainly a chance now for her to take up the initiative and just start to control this race.
Yeah, she's stretching away a bit. In fact, they've just gone past the South African Tian Bosch, who's in the men's race. So they started 3 minutes ahead. So they've already dispensed with him. Christie's working really hard back in third. Remember, there's only 2 medals on offer here. So there's only 2 medals in the women's, and Shelley Oxley Woods is sticking with her. But this is interesting. I would have thought that Maddie would have been a little slower away to make a move, but she's obviously feeling good, deciding that she's going to set the pace. And they're just over 8K into this women's T53 T54 marathon, and she's got them under the pump already.
They've paired off these two, Maddie Di Rosario and also Shelley Oxley Woods, and Maddie just making sure she's doing plenty of the heavy lifting up the front. She looks in control, doesn't she? So
they're not too far away from 10K, or if they are, we haven't got their split yet, but you can see this is the welcome part of the course once they get on the other side. But you do have to pay attention going downhill. They're not as manoeuvrable as a bike. The steering mechanism's done by a little tap of the front wheel, and moving the body from side to side can make a slight difference to it. But you can see she's pretty economical, Maddie, and just taking the opportunity to have a rest and give the neck a little side to side. Pretty nice part of the course here. So there's the 10K, so 4 seconds. In fact, it's Rainbow Cooper who's in second spot, not Oxley Woods. So that is a bit of a surprise. The 21-year-old from England whose lifetime best is 2:08.04 compared to Maddie Di Rosario's 1:38. So that PB came in Paris earlier this year. She's competes in the Weir Archer Academy, which is run by David Weir, and has been a bit of a proving ground for a group of youngsters. And Christie's 51 seconds behind, and Oxley Wood, she'd be disappointed, the second of the British pushers, to be back in 4th place at the moment.
So Christy Dawes, that 42-year-old from Newcastle, so the Novocastrians will be cheering her on. This is her 3rd Commonwealth Games appearance. She just missed out on medals in Melbourne and also in Glasgow in 2014, 7 Paralympic Games, and her first was in Atlanta in 1996. She's won 2 Paralympic silver medals in relays in Beijing and also in Rio. She became a paraplegic due to a car accident she was involved in the age of 10, and her coach is Andrew Dawes.
Yep,
and
husband, shout out.
If you realise the similarity there, that's her husband.
Some of these climbs, we've just seen Maddie come down the other side along with Christy Dawes. They're 51 seconds behind the lead 2. So Di Rosario and Rainbow Cooper of England, who's just off the back. You can just see the red helmet poking through there as they come up over the top of that pretty brutal climb. They're working really hard during the break. And then Dawes and Oxley Woods through that 10K were 51 and 54 seconds behind. Even the cameraman having a bit of an issue on the bumpy road surface here.
So Maddie out clear, and you're crunching the numbers, Dave Colbert. Eden Rainbow Cooper is putting in a magnificent performance from England. At the moment, some 24 seconds, that gap now to Maddie Di Rosario. The big surprise is Shelley Oxley Woods, who would have been really hoping to fight it out for a silver medal here, and she's not in the picture. So
the last split we've got is 15K, and so that you can see 18K at the moment, so we're not too far away from getting our next time split. I'm not certain that margin might have come down a fraction from the 24 seconds. Hard to see from these pictures. We'll get a bit more of a view here as to how far. It's a big margin, isn't it? It's probably more than that now. So maybe Oxley Woods is moving up a little more as well, and Christy Dawes was 2 minutes 12 and Oxley Woods 2:16 behind. That was at 15K, so we'll probably just wait for the 20K split to see what's happening there. That margin looks a lot shorter there than it did before, doesn't it? The camera angle foreshortens it, but is it 20 seconds? I don't think so. But Maddie's pretty controlled. She was smiling at some of the Australian team members out on the course, and she's getting back towards that turnaround on this first loop. Reminder, 42.195 kilometres, 18k times 2, and then they do the final Smiths through the city circuit of 6.2. So 8 seconds is the gap. So that's a good effort from the Englishwoman to shorten that gap, which got out to 24 seconds. But look,
Is it more Maddie
Yeah.
maybe conserving some energy, as we thought she might, with the 1500 still to come in the program?
alert but not alarmed. That would
Yeah.
be the situation. I think that she's in control. She knows what she needs. She doesn't need to smash it. It's not about the time today. It's about securing the back-to-back wins, avoiding the potholes where you can. Curtis, she looks like she does enough to get further away, has a bit of a breather. The elastic band shrivels up again, and then she has a look back and says, no. I'm just going to maintain my dominance here and stretch away again.
Yeah, it's about being smart, not the fastest, and it's not how you go through the halfway mark, it's how you go through the finish line, and that's important.
So she has raced for a little while with behind her from Northern Ireland in the men's race, Mark Miller. So just keeping her company for a while, but she's in complete isolation in the women's T53 T54 classification.
So remember, the men started 3 minutes ahead. So Di Rosario's ticked off 2. Tian Bosch, the South African, and Mark Miller from Northern Ireland, who are 14 minutes and 20 minutes respectively behind the leader in the men's race. That was through 30 kilometres. So they're approaching that 30k mark at the moment.
That's Eden Rainbow Cooper, who, it must be said, has put in an absolute stormer here.
She's going to smash her personal best,
Yeah.
which was over the 2-hour mark. So lightly raced, hasn't had that much experience, has been reasonable over the half marathon distance, but this is going to be a big personal best for her. And I must point out at this stage that our resident meteorologist, Curtis McGrath, who was predicting rain, we haven't seen any of it yet, Curtis. It's still on the radar, though, and in fact, it looks like it's approaching the central business district.
Dare I say it, Curtis, you'll fit in perfectly because you get it wrong like most of them.
Oh, that's a sledge.
I can't look out the window to see, so someone in Birmingham might be able to inform me of the current atmospheric pressure there.
I'll tell you what I did laugh at, though, that the weather report on the computer says it's a good day for
running.
There you go. This course and what they're seeing here will put the frighteners in the able-bods that are still to come. The men's races, so you have a look at these split times and the variations as they go through with some of the downhill sections versus the uphill sections. But the men's marathon is due to start in 11 minutes' time, and it's not going to start in 11 minutes' time because this race will only have just been completed. So the fact that it's taken them, 1:46 is the time on the clock at the moment. Maddie Di Rosario, PB 1:38.11. It's a slow course and it's challenging. So it's, the officials now be look again. Have a look at that climb. I know I keep saying it, but every time I see it, Curtis, it surprises me as how punishing it is.
This is through the suburbs of Brookfields, just on the outskirts of the main CBD of Birmingham, and this is at the completion of 40 kilometres, so it's a brutal welcoming for these athletes, Curtis.
Indeed, there you see Maddie there just actually providing a little bit of encouragement to the Northern Ireland racer there, Mark Miller. It would be a little bit annoying for Maddie having Mark just sitting right behind her, thinking that it's another competitor from your event coming right up behind you, but yeah, it's...
She'd know it wouldn't be, but every time you look around...
Was that David Ware that she just
passed?
passed?
I think that is Ware.
Yeah.
Yep. Who's, chapeau, David, for continuing on. Just past, it was probably about 32k that he had the flat tyre. And you can see how hard it is once again as they come up the climb. But when you looked at the rankings at the start of the day and you assessed the field for 4 starters, 2 medals, the youngster from England, Eden Rainbow Cooper, she was 4th by some margin in terms of what you expected the end result to be. So the fact that she's getting close to the finish line and securing a silver medal is a great achievement for her.
Getting a grand reception is Maddie Di Rosario for her second Commonwealth Marathon gold medal. And you can just see how arduous that is as she gets to the top of that ascent.
Curtis, you're in an event where your arms are just screaming in pain and suffering, and you're watching them here and it's hurting.
Yeah, especially, like, I do 200 metres. Let's not even compare this. So this is 42 Ks and some. So it's a big ask, and Maddie's done it all before and knows what to do, and she's just a champion. And
the power that she can generate in each push, though, is extraordinary. And as we've talked about with the T53 and the lower limb function, that it all just comes from the upper body and the shoulders and the arms, and it is magnificent.
It is indeed. And of course, coached by Louise Savage, so there's just elite all over the place. 4 times Paralympian with 2 gold medals. This will be the second Commonwealth gold medal in the marathon for Maddie Di Rosario. A little bit of time to just soak it up, have a look at the crowd cheering her on, completing another gold medal performance by Maddie Di Rosario, and well summed up by DC. She is magnificent, Maddie. That time of 1:56, we were certainly expecting faster, but the course has been a surprise packet today, but this lady isn't. And there is Louise Savage, and what a magnificent Paralympian she was, probably the best of all time. Magnificent scenes for Australia.
But this has been a performance full of merit from Eden Rainbow Cooper. Shelley Oxley-Woods, her teammate, we expected to be the challenger along with Christy Dawes. Dawes is currently in 4th spot as they went through 35 kilometres.
And that chair almost stopped stationary at the top of that hill from Rainbow Cooper. It's hard work at the end of the 42 kilometres, but 200 metres to go. That must be such a pleasant sight. Heading down towards the town hall, which is at the centre of Victoria Square, and the finish line. Past Colmore Row and down towards the town hall and the finish line for Eden Rainbow Cooper, and a magnificent silver medal, and the locals giving her a very generous reception, even running alongside to support her, and a wry smile after all of the hard work, and she's going to power to the line. Fantastic stuff from Eden Rainbow Cooper, and in the end finishes on a
she's broken 2 hours, which is a
behind
big
Di Rosario.
performance.
Yeah. So a big performance. That time 1:59.45. So it is a games record for Maddie Di Rosario and a PB for Eden Rainbow Cooper.